Who are you when you're not working? Does that person even exist? Because here's what I discovered that summer. I had no idea who I was without my achievements. For 30 years as a serial entrepreneur, my identity had become so intertwined with what I was building, what I was accomplishing, that when that was gone, there was just this empty space. Welcome to the Manifest and Chill podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Ftacek, where we dive in each week to chat about how high-achieving women can release the need to be perfect and find peace, drop the hustle without giving up their ambitions, and manifest the life they truly desire. I'm a certified manifestation and visualization coach with a rich and exhausting background as a serial entrepreneur and tech founder who is obsessed with teaching women how to manifest the life they desire and chill the fuck out in the process. Let's dive in. Well, hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Manifest and Chill podcast. I'm Tracy, and today we're diving deep into something that might make you squirm a little bit. Why those of us who've achieved success often struggle the most with actually resting. This episode is personal, like really personal, because I'm going to share the story of what happened after I successfully sold and exited my beauty tech company, and why that dream success nearly broke me. But here's the thing. I'm not just going to tell you my story. I'm going to give you questions that will help you uncover your own relationship with achievement and rest. So grab a journal, grab your favorite pen, because you're going to want to dig into this with me. Let me paint you a picture. It's summer. My husband Steve and I are at this beautiful bed and breakfast in Maine, and we're supposed to be celebrating. I had just successfully exited from my beauty tech company, the thing every entrepreneur dreams of, right? And someone at that bed and breakfast asked me a very simple question. So Tracy, what do you do? I literally couldn't answer. I'm staring at this person for the first time in my adult life. I have no idea what to say. Me, the woman who's never at a loss for job titles, asking my husband under my breath, what do I say? Steve whispered back to me, just tell them you're retired early from building and selling a beauty tech company. And you know what? Even that answer, something felt completely off, like I was wearing someone else's clothes. And this brings me to that first question that I had to ask myself, and I want you to really sit with this one. Who are you when you're not working? Does that person even exist? Because here's what I discovered that summer. I had no idea who I was without my achievements. And for 30 years as a serial entrepreneur, my identity had become so entwined with what I was building, what I was accomplishing, that when that was gone, there was just this empty space. I was staring at a completely empty calendar and feeling a bit lost and not as grateful as I should have. Not excited about all this free time. Lost. Take a moment right now and ask yourself, if you couldn't talk about your job, your business, your latest project, who would you be? What would you talk about? And this is why, and there's notes in the links and what have you below in the show notes of exactly why I'm hosting a retreat in Tulum and why I host retreats in general. Because what I realize, and this whole series is about permission to pause, is that I realize that high achievers like us, we need a different kind of experience, not just a traditional yoga and wellness retreat. We need intentional downtime and space, yes, but we also need activities that feed our desire for achievement in healthy doses, not the spike and crash cycle we're used to. To explore new parts of ourselves through experiences that have nothing to do with your business success, but everything to do with who you are as a human being. And I discovered in this journey another telltale sign that your identity, my identity, our identity, can be wrapped up in achievement. And it was because I could not take an intentional pause. Next question. Do you find yourself downloading the strategy white paper instead of the juicy fictional book? Because even your leisure gets wrapped in business lessons, right? I did it. Even when you're thinking you're resting, you're still consuming content that could somehow make you better, smarter, more strategic, yeah. True rest, the kind that actually restores you, serves no productive purpose. It doesn't make you better at anything. It just is. What aspects of yourself have been buried under decades of achievement? That summer, I started taking flying lessons. I learned to ride horses, which, by the way, I'm terrible at. I began training with the Chopra Institute for primordial sound meditation and became a certified manifestation and visualization coach. And you know what was fascinating? These weren't things I was naturally good at. These weren't things that would boost my resume or make me more successful. Because this company, Manifest and Chill, hadn't been started. These were just things that I had true interests in that I thought, hey, let's give it a whirl and see what's going on. I'm not going to lie. I'm a girl from Alaska. Everybody in Alaska flies airplanes, and that was actually a childhood dream. And what I realized is that I finally had the time and the money to pursue what I wanted to pursue in life. These weren't things that would boost my resume, like I said, or make me more successful. They were just interests, part of myself that had been completely buried under 30 years of hustle. So I ask you, my friends, what interests have you pushed aside because they don't serve your achievement goals? What parts of yourself have you forgotten about? Now let's get real about something most high achievers don't want to admit. Secretly, we're addicted to the high of achievement. Describe the high you get from accomplishing something. How long does that last? That's a great question to explore. Describe the high you get from accomplishing something, and how long does it last? For me, that high from selling my company or any other achievements I received in the past, constantly chasing the promotion, constantly chasing the new revenue goals, but not stopping to actually pause and celebrate, those things maybe would last like a week. Maybe. And then I was left with myself. Just me, without the next goal, without the next mountain to climb. When the high of those achievements wear off, all you are left with is yourself. And if you spent decades avoiding that self by staying constantly busy, constantly achieving, constantly moving toward the next goal, well, that is a terrifying place to be. What happens when your achievement high wears off? What are you left with? And how quickly do you need the next accomplishment to feel worthy again? Please try to be honest here. Be really fucking honest. Because this pattern, this need for the next hit of achievement, is what keeps you from ever truly resting. And the difference between a healthy achievement and achievement addiction is sustainability. Healthy achievement doesn't leave you crashed and empty, scrambling for the next fix. It leaves you fulfilled and energized. That's what we're going to practice in Tulum. Achievements that nourish rather than deplete. Learning experiences that expand who you are rather than just what you can do. And as a high-achieving woman, I can guarantee these are some sticky questions. These can be bringing some uncomfortable answers, but it's your journal. You don't have to show that shit to anybody else. So feel as unburdened. Answer these questions with a little reckless abandonment is what I would suggest. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. The question that changed everything for me. What truths about yourself have been avoided by staying constantly busy? In those quiet moments that summer, when I successfully exited my company, when I couldn't hide behind meetings and deadlines and the constant motion of building something, I had to face some hard truths. I had to admit that I'd been using achievement as a drug, that I'd been so afraid of not being enough that I kept accumulating proof of my worth through what I could accomplish. But here's the thing about external validation. It's never enough. There's always another goal, another level, another way to prove your worth. And in that cycle, rest becomes the enemy because rest threatens the entire system you've created. If you removed all your titles and achievements tomorrow, who would you be? What are you afraid you'd discover about yourself if you truly rested? I know this is heavy, but stay with me because this is where the transformation actually happens. So by late summer, something had shifted. Through those flying lessons, those meditation trainings, that terrible horseback riding, I discovered something profound. I was not my achievements. I was not my company. I was not my exit. I was not my track record or my resume or even my LinkedIn profile. Oof, that one could sting a little bit. I was Tracy, a woman who loves learning new things, even when she's bad at them. A woman who finds peace in meditation and excitement in flying. A woman who can build businesses, yes, but who doesn't have to prove her worth through what she builds. This realization changed everything about how I approach business now. What would your life look like if you built it around pleasure first and work second? Because that's exactly what I did with Manifest and Chill. I built my current company, the entire reason I have this podcast, around the pleasures of life. I love this shit. The work, the tasks, the responsibilities of being a business owner, they're all woven into the gaps and spaces left after the enjoyments of being alive. How would you introduce yourself if achievements weren't allowed? What would you want people to know about you that has nothing to do with what you've accomplished? And this is the work we do. This is the deep dive. Creating containers where you can explore who you are beyond your achievements. It's why I do what I do. Places where you can still honor that part of you that loves to grow and learn and experience and be innovative and a disruptor of new things. Intentional downtime paired with soul-nourishing activities. The kind of achievements that don't spike and crash like the business highs we're used to, but instead creating a steady foundation of fulfillment. Here's what I want you to understand. Please let this land. Rest isn't the reward you get after you've achieved enough. Rest is the foundation that makes sustainable achievement possible. And I will go to the grave touting that and yelling it from the hilltops. When you separate your worth from your productivity, when you remember who you are beyond what you do, rest stops being scary and starts being restorative. So let's do some fun things this week. Take this assessment seriously, journal on these questions, and then think. And then try something you're not good at, something that serves no purpose other than bringing you joy. Give yourself permission to be more than your achievements. Give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to pause. Next week, we're diving into the art of strategic stepping back, the practical framework for knowing when and how to pause in your business to make maximum impact. Until then, remember, you are not what you do. You are so much more. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I would love and be honored if you would leave me a review, send a screenshot, and let me know. I've got a special gift for you. Also, if you want to talk a little bit about the impact that this has made, you can obviously find me on Instagram, join me in the DMs, or jump into my website. All these links are in the show notes below. I would be honored to have a conversation with you. Until then, I will see you next week.